Okay, so we're back to the DFR. While you were gone, I populated the bits and stuff that we need for Sector 2, which was Brisbane to Sydney, and Sector 3, which was Sydney to Melbourne. So most of that stuff is done, used in those sectors. But now we're back to the end and we're looking at the DFR. So let's just fill in the rest of these times. So Brisbane, what do you know? We were late at Brisbane, even though we were early in. So 10:45. Long taxi out of Brisbane, 11:02. That was a night sector, and we landed at 12. Where is it? Let's pick a number down here. Again, we can type these straight in. 12:10, which is an hour 8. That was a quick sector, and 12:25. Back over here, we're supposed to be 12 Sydney. Frightened the stuffing out of us and got us out of there at 12:45. Very quick turn. 12:49, very short taxi. Another night sector. Again, you can select or type, and we landed into Melbourne. Let's go with 13. 13 was a bit of a no. That's not long enough, is it? Try again. Right. And that's the end of the 3 sectors of data. You can see that it's worked out flight time, block time, day and night, and summarised them there, so they're all ready to go for the flight record. On the far right here, these load values have been brought in from the sheets. So these are the load values that we typed into the load thing there from the load sheet. They're brought in here so that you can just type them in the DFR without having to go and hunt them down. Meanwhile, we needed to complete the fuel blocks. So the fuel on board, and this is kind of the wrong order you do it in, but the fuel on board, oh God, it's there twice. Was that, and we needed a refuel value, and I'm going to screw this up. Oh, okay. I got it right. Okay, and we arrived, the burn was supposed to be 2.5, so let's say we burnt 4,200, what's that look like? And here we arrived in Melbourne with 4,100. I need to just bump this refuel figure up here because it didn't quite. Okay, so that's numbers that look reasonable. So you can see by putting in the fuel on board departure and the arrival fuel, it calculates the 2 burns. Now it's got these 2 figures on the end here, and what these are is because in sector 1, 2 and 3, I know what the flight plan says we should have burnt. And I know what the flight plan says we should have had on arrival at our destination. Those figures are actually down here. What this tells me is that I managed to save 515 kilos somehow on this sector, and I landed with an extra 335 kilos in Brisbane. Whereas on this one, I saved fuel, but somehow landed with less fuel than the flight plan said I should have. In this case, I burnt more and I landed with less. So the numbers are what the numbers are. Down the bottom here is kind of a fuel analysis, so you can see the DFR burn was 4,200, we arrived with 46, taxied out, and that taxied out figure is based on the difference between out and off multiplied by the FCOM typical fuel burn rates. So taxi out, taxi in, adjusted burn, adjusted fuel over destination. So adjusted FOD is the fuel that you said you arrived with, less how much fuel you probably burnt during the taxi in. So if you land in Sydney, you spend 35 minutes, 40 minutes sitting on the ground waiting for your stand, that fuel, it's unfair to measure the flight plan arrival fuel with what you actually arrived with, because we don't allow for taxi after landing. It's once you're after landing, you're met the requirement, haven't you? So it's saying that you're, what did we say? We said we arrived with 4405 because of the taxi fuel in. And there's burn and stuff here. So this is all just about analysing the flight plan and looking to see how the flight plan performed against what actually happened in the real world. And that yellow there is just we had a long taxi out, so we burnt more than the standard 230 kilo allowance on that sector of taxi fuel. And that's it. So how does this thing really help me? I find it incredibly useful with the takeoff data card stuff. Just to be able to set up multiple scenarios, quickly analyse them, and when it gets complex, when I'm trying to compare flap 24 versus flap 18 out of Sydney and whether we can get away with full flex or how much flex we need to lose, it's quite easy to drive yourself to a reasonably accurate answer, and then just the numbers are there in front of you, and you can check them against the card that comes at you or against the rack manual. And then the other thing that's really handy is just having this data sitting here at the end of the flight when I'm tired and it's either dark or it's light outside. It doesn't seem to matter about being tired. To just compare those numbers against what's written in the DFR so that I get less emails after landing. And this is how I use Excel in a 146, and if you think I'm crazy, I'm starting to agree with you.